5 things that guarantee success in property, but that you don't know. I've got a list.
And I've got a list as well.
Whose list is best? It's a showdown. I'm Jess.
I'm Adam.
We are forthelandlords.com. We help landlords start, scale and optimise. If you want more money, less hassle and your time back, this is the channel for you. So today, something a little bit different.
Yeah.
We've compiled a list of things that we know make a massive difference in the life of a property investor, but we know that lots of property investors don't know. You're going to go first. Oh, what's yours?
Right. Number one.
Number one.
You cannot buy a rundown house with a buy-to-let mortgage.
No, you
so
can't.
many people think you can.
Yeah.
Because you can buy with a normal mortgage, you can buy a rundown house, live in it.
Yep.
Buy-to-let, you can't.
Yeah, so it makes sense. It's called buy-to-let. So the reason is...
Yeah, it has to be in a lettable condition.
Lettable condition. It's buy-to-let.
Sounds obvious, but you used to be able to, though, didn't you? Pretty much.
But they weren't so bothered. But 2000.
This is a long time ago.
A long time ago. Yeah, we used to buy rundown houses. One of the things that I used to get written on a survey was not lettable condition, but the landlord says he's going to refurbish it over the next 8 weeks, and then they give you the mortgage.
Which is a bit like a residential one. They know you're going to live in it.
It wasn't a roll-on. It was a roll-on meaning a buy-to-let product that then rolls on, a bridging product that then rolls onto a buy-to-let project. It was just, it wasn't a special refurb product. Then later on it became a refurb product. But yeah, if you just want to get a normal buy-to-let mortgage, it's got to be mortgageable.
What's your first one?
Rentable to be mortgageable. My first one is about the deposit. Saving the deposit is not as hard as you think. You've just got to be consistent.
Okay, so that bleeds into mine a little bit. Because people are going to need a bigger deposit, I think, if they think they're going to buy a house with a...
Well, I hear from people younger than me that saving a deposit is harder, and somehow saving a deposit was less hard for me because there was this magical thing that happened 30 years ago that was different. It wasn't. I had to save up money, and you've just got to be consistent. I think there's my son told me this the other day. He did the if you fold a piece of paper in half, the thickness of the piece of paper is 0.1 millimeters, and then you fold it in half, it's 0.2. You fold it in half, and it's 0.4. You keep doing that how many times until the thickness of the paper, once you folded it, gets to the moon? It's 42. You told me that. Kind of in an analogy, we say it's about compound interest and compounding, not interest necessarily, but just keeping delayed gratification. Don't buy the car, go on holiday, do all those things where the money just disappears and you don't really get anything for it. Delay your gratification in your 20s, 30s, whenever you're starting out, get that deposit, put it down, buy your first house, then don't go and spend it, do it again to buy your second one and again to buy your third one, and because it gets easier. I buy a house now.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so that's my number one.
Right, number two is similar theme. You can't buy a house with a buy-to-let mortgage and then convert it to a HMO on day one. Because it would, all the time. Because a lot of people think, I'm just going to get a HMO, house of multiplication, I'll rent it to students or sharers, and it'll make me more money. But if you buy that house with a 25% buy-to-let mortgage, that mortgage will say it has to be let on a single AST.
Yeah. Similar to your first one. Is that cheating? Is that allowed?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll give you
my list, so I don't care.
I'll give you it, but we're going to vote in the comments whether or not that's cheating or not. So you're healthy today as well.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so we'll give you that one. Misconceptions around what's mortgageable and what's not is quite common, isn't it? Speaking to a good mortgage broker would be
It's also quite important if you're thinking about buying houses with mortgages.
So my number two on my list is own the asset. And that sounds obvious, but we get a lot of people talking about rent to rent or flipping a property.
So there's a caveat there, though, isn't there? Rent to rent can be good.
Go on.
As long as you've got like a lease option at the end of the term.
I was going to actually stick a lease option on anything. Stick a lease option on anything, it becomes property investing. I've bought plenty of houses on lease options. So you find a deal, it's a good deal, you negotiate the price now, You do all the work, you get the tenant in, you get it making money, and your lease option is giving you the option to buy the asset at a price that you pre-agreed. You haven't got the obligation, so if you can't save the money or something goes wrong, you can back out. But it gives you, it secures that option to buy the property at a discount, allows you the time to add the value without doing any work. It works. But the reason if you're just doing loads of rent to rent, it's work, it's a job. If you want work, if you want another job, doing rent to rent and any other kind of work that's in the property arena to learn about property is not a bad thing at all. If it's making you money, if you are, you're working in a job making widgets, but you want to get into property, getting a job in property makes sense.
Rent to rent are so hard to even source and get anyway.
They're
really easy to sort of sell that dream. But I know plenty of people who've tried for ages to get a rent to rent deal going, and it's so hard.
But to get it profitable, absolutely.
So
look, the point there is, you're only a property investor when you own the asset.
We are. Okay.
Yours.
Number 3. Buying far away from where you live doesn't have to be scary. Use a property sourcer and de-risk your investment.
Yeah. Property sourcer, a team of letting agent. Yeah, you're right. So
a lot of people think, oh no, it's too far from where I live. I need to be able to drive to it, drive and have a look at it. This is not just when you buy it. I mean, in 5 years' time, you really don't.
No, I own lots of houses, hundreds of miles away from where I live.
Yeah. And locally, but you never go by the local ones. I had to drive into town to our office, past a road where I've got a house, and I never drive up it.
No. That's a really good point. If you haven't got people that you trust to do property inspections, relet the place, do maintenance, and at every single one of those points, somebody will be in the house looking at it. They can send you photos and send them back. You can become an expert in an area 200 miles away just as easily as 20 miles away. I know why you're saying that.
Definitely.
Because 85% of the UK don't live somewhere that's investable. The little pockets. So if you just stick, investable's the wrong word, where you get those really good,
high yielding,
high yields. Yeah. So if you want to be a property investor that keeps buying and buying and buying, you can't make a habit of buying £500,000 houses that rent out for £1,500 a month. It just doesn't work. You need to be buying £100,000 to £150,000 houses that rent out for £750 to £1,000 a month, and buy 100 of those. And if you limit yourself to the same
only 100.
That's yours.
Right, what's yours?
Knowledge up, it de-risks you. The amount of people who get going, wing it, think they know it.
Like most landlords.
Well, like me, I did it when I first going. Well, how hard can this be? I live in a house. I know what it's about.
Yeah.
There's a world of advice and help out there. Pay for it. I mean, paying for it is not like getting a project manager involved, getting training and mentoring, getting the advice of a good solicitor or accountant. It amazes me the amount of people, landlords, who scrimp and save at the advice stage. I don't want to pay an accountant to set up my limited company. I remember having a comment once. We don't do it anymore, but we put an offer out where you could speak to the accountant for free or whatever. And one of the comments was, "Oh, that's crazy. Who would pay? Because the accountant pays to set up a limited company. Who would pay £1,000 to set up a limited company? It's only £35 from Company's House. You can set up a limited company yourself on Company's House for £35. I think it's gone up a little bit now, but you have
going up double in the new year for property.
Your accountant is going to sit down with you for an hour, talk to you about the ins and the outs, give you some education, for want of better words, and advice. Advice is paid for, and he's got an insurance policy against it and all those things. He's going to lay out your options. He's going to make sure your articles and your memorandum are right. Of course, it's £1,000, but that same landlord is skimping at that point, and across all sorts of other things.
They're going to skimp everywhere, aren't they?
But then they're spending their life savings on that investment. So knowledge up. Get that help, that professional help.
Don't be scared of training or mentorship, because you'd happily. A lot of people happily go to uni and get a 60 grand debt with no guaranteed job at the end of it.
No guaranteed job. This is, you bought a house. Really, you need to know. Get all that information in your head. Get don't leave it to chance.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
My fourth one was, don't be your own letting agent. Don't try and self-manage and do it yourself for the sake of saving 10% of the rent each month.
Yeah,
It's 50 quid or something. That's a bit more than that maybe, but not much more.
No, I'd second that. We own a letting agent. So people watching this will go, yeah, of course you say that. You want them to use your letting agent. Yeah. I've never managed my own properties.
That's true, though.
I've never managed my own properties.
we'll manage your house.
We'll manage your house.
But,
and
yeah, you definitely need...
Our job now is managing the letting agency as well. But crikey, there's a lot of specialist software, specialist knowledge involved. And if you self-manage... There's two types of investor. The type of investor who just wants to buy enough to be able to be relaxed, safe and secure, and the kind of investor that wants to grow, okay? Neither of those is best served by DIY. If you DIY, you'll never be able to relax, you'll never have a day off, you'll never have a minute off. Anybody can call you any time of night or day. And the other kind of investor who wants to grow, you'll be held back if you're constantly looking after leaky taps and trying to fill a void. Neither of the two types of landlord are best served by trying to manage it themselves. Yeah. If you get a managing agent in, the first landlord who just wants to relax, buy one more house. You'll have the time and that will cover the cost.
You know what as well, right? Your tenants will prefer it to have an agent that they think they can get, they know they can get hold of.
Get hold of.
Yeah.
Okay,
go on. Your fourth.
My next one, get to know bricks and mortar was my next one. So this is, if you're going to be a landlord and you're saying things like, I don't know how to change a socket, a plug socket, or put some shelves up, I think you should get over that and you should try and learn. Now, you never get, I don't hold a paintbrush, don't go in and do the renovation yourself, but do know enough to be able to have a sensible conversation with a builder, know how building projects work, before you speak to a builder, know what a schedule of works is, know what a contract and what contract you're going to give them. So you can just speak sensibly. You can lead the conversation rather than be led. If you don't know these things, if you're the kind of person you go in to the house that you're about to refurb with the builder, and you say to the builder, "Oh, I haven't got a clue. I can't even put a shelf up," and you be that person, then well, guess what? Probably going to get taken advantage of. He'll give you all sorts of the builder will give you all sorts of advice that probably isn't right, or maybe the price will be a bit higher.
Start telling you that's wrong, that needs doing.
If you walk in and say, well, look, I've even if you do it by having builder A make all your mistakes, then bring builder B in and seem like you know what you're talking about. It's probably get educated again. Get educated in what the surveying, managing, property management, maintenance, refurbishment, what it entails. So that's that.
Fair.
That's one. Yeah, okay. That's a good one, I think.
Yeah.
I'm feeling strong here. I'm feeling like my list could be the winning list.
I don't know.
You writing in the comments who's winning so far?
I think my fifth one is the best.
Go on.
The easiest and cheapest money to borrow is your own.
Go on.
Easiest and cheapest money to borrow is your own.
I forgot. I read the list. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So it's taking money out of the equity in your own house. Yeah. Easiest money to borrow because you borrow it off yourself. So you haven't got to convince anybody. You've got to convince yourself.
It's the cheapest.
Yeah.
I know why you put it there as well. So it's your principal private residence, as they'd say. If you've got a mortgage on it or you haven't, putting a personal mortgage on the house you live in is the cheapest interest rate. It's the easiest accessible, assuming there's some equity in it.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
It's also the one where you'll be the most reticent to do it. And people go, God, I don't know.
But, people do it all the time to fund an extension, don't they? Or a loft conversion or something. It's only the same.
Yeah, betting.
It's actually better
because on the line or something like that.
When you take $100,000 out of your house to do a massive extension on that same house, you're just increasing your mortgage payment, and your house isn't an asset if you're living in it. It doesn't pay you. So taking $100,000 out and investing it in something that's going to pay you That's good.
Yep. I know, speaking to my wife, Emily, she likes not having on a mortgage on the house we live in. She likes that.
Because that's how we were brought up. All of us were told that.
It still feels comfortable.
Yeah, it does.
I take money out of this house. We're in my house now. And I put it into buy-to-let, and I feel at that point, so you know, you write a check against the house for 100 grand, buy a house. I'm still mortgage free in some ways.
That's how I look at it as well.
So I've got another £100,000 owed on this house, but I've just bought a house over there that's worth actually more than £100,000 because of what we're going to. But at the very least, and then we refinance that out and then pay it back. Little tiny to do it. That's called an offset mortgage. That's something you can get. Look into an offset mortgage. It might make you feel quite comfortable. We don't have an offset mortgage anymore. Because if you're a property investor and you're always investing, I spoke to the bank manager and she said, the idea of an offset mortgage is you keep paying it back. I said, well, I do. I pay it back. He said, yeah, but you only leave it there for a week and then you go buy another house. You should just have a mortgage. So this house is, in my mind, mortgage free, but then there's a mortgage and all that money is in the property business to buy more houses.
Makes sense.
So, is that your fifth? Right, so this is the decider. I think I'm well ahead now. We should have done votes after each round here. So I think I'm ahead. I think this is the killer blow. So the two people that are going to make you the most money, this might be a little bit of a cheat because I'm saying two people even though it's 1 point, is your broker and your accountant. Your mortgage broker and your accountant are the biggest levers.
So you can just call it your power team.
Your power team, yeah. Your mortgage broker will make you more money by being knowledgeable. The amount of times where I couldn't get that one through, or it wouldn't work, or the refinance wasn't working, or I had to go to another lender, or there was a question or a block that could easily have just stopped that in its path. Maybe forever, maybe for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, but a good broker kept it rolling, kept it going. And if you do that consistently over 20 years, I'm convinced half the houses I have now are because we just kept the money rolling. You
should always use a specialist broker. Never used to use a friend of a friend or your uncle or something.
Yeah, they've got to be a specialist buy-to-let broker. And then
I just done a refinance, and I took the offer that I was given, and then they keep checking, the broker does, between the period of the offer being given and the date that it goes through, if the lender's rates have dropped. And 2 days after the deal completed, they email me and say, by the way, we'd kept going at them and going at them. You actually are, and it's something like £9 a month cheaper now, this mortgages. Fair play, they kept doing it.
They kept going it, yeah. That's our broker that we use. And then the last one I've said on there is an accountant. In mine, speak to them once a year, and then there's a quarterly review, which might be on a Zoom call or something like that. Those very, very small touch points save me it's the biggest ROI per my time, for sure. Get things right, get your tax position right, limited company advice, whatever it is. That's like the biggest lever. You can flick a switch between, here's a 20 grand tax bill, here's a 0 tax bill, and you can have that conversation in 15 minutes. So, yeah. There we go.
Mine was better.
Not sure. I think mine was better. Vote in the comments who's best. Not just list, just generally best. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully it was useful. Hopefully you got 10 things that you did not know before, but that you can see are really valuable to you as a property investor. If you like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends, and definitely leave some comments down below. Bye for now.
All right, cheers.